Hello, Gravel City Adventurers. I am Leland Danes, owner and chief community builder, I guess, at Gravel City Adventure. And part of that community building is extending well beyond Emporia and the Flint Hills and even the Midwest of the United States. And this is our second installment of our Gravel Exchange. This time we'll be talking with Paul Errington of Northern CC in the United Kingdom. And with the Gravel Exchange, we hope to every Saturday morning bring you a web chat with gravel enthusiasts from around the globe and hopefully learn a little bit more about what gravel looks like all around the world. So, Paul, thanks for joining us this morning.
No, thank you. Good introduction.
Good. Thank you. I got my tea ready this morning. Oh, bring it down here. And then come to find out you're not even a tea drinker. So
I prefer my soft drink.
We've both got our original DK glassware here.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, Paul, I gave you a very brief introduction. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background? Start maybe not from all the way from the beginning, but wherever you want to begin, and tell us about you and what you've been doing.
I think I can start right at the beginning of my relationship with gravel. And we go back to 2012, which was kind of around the time that I discovered this whole phenomena that was happening in the US called gravel. And I knew we were going to have this chat, and I was trying to figure out how I came about gravel and what was happening. And I think there used to be a small kind of self-published magazine called XXC magazine.
Yeah.
And that's where I read about, and it wasn't DK, it was Trans Iowa. So Trans Iowa sowed the seed for me. And that's how I kind of became aware of what was happening. So 2012, I'd missed the boat for Trans Iowa. It's a difficult process to convince Guitar Ted that you are worthy of that event. So I came to Emporia, got connected with some pretty good people there. They're still great friends now. And 2012 did my first DK. So that was my kind of taste of gravel. I was still working in engineering at that point. I still had a real job, I like to term it. But when I came back from that, a couple of years kind of passed. And gravel was growing. There was nothing happening in the UK. And they decided that at that point, I think it was 2015, 16, that the UK needed something that kind of looked and felt like DK. So we gave birth to Dirty Reiver, which is up in the northeast of England. And that's the start of my relationship with gravel, and it's grown since then. I now own a consultancy. I manage other events. I'm solely focused on gravel right now as a way to pay the bills.
Nice. So you're not doing the puppy rescue anymore, is that right?
The puppy rescue?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Legitimate, yeah. So that's a bikepacking event in Israel called the Holy Land Challenge, and that's maybe 4 days into our 9-day it took us to race that event, and we found a dog.
I thought you did bicycle puppy recovery in the early.
Maybe there's like a pivot on my existing business I could do.
Nice. So 2012, you started to figure this stuff out. In 2012, gravel was still relatively new stateside. So you, as a foreigner, probably were one of in the first wave to discover this stuff and then actually do something with it. So what was the mentality as you were discovering this? And you said, so from 2012 to 2015, to 2015 is when you started to develop something in the UK. What was the general attitude towards gravel in the UK in that time period?
Gravel the term gravel was really unknown when we started to put the first Dirty Reiver together. But we were really lucky that in the UK, we'd had a good history of endurance events, 24-hour events, 12-hour events, off-road. So people had a good mindset for long distance. And we have a really good culture of cyclocross. So when you look at a cyclocross bike and a gravel bike, the aesthetic is very similar. So we weren't kind of selling a completely new concept. You know, we weren't selling 100-mile unicycle races. People could kind of put together what we were doing. So I think the first year we did this, I think 17, 16, yeah. We sold out like in a couple of weeks for a first year event of a completely new format. And it was, I guess, just testament to the kind of the style of the event and what people, the appetite, I guess is the right word for that. People really
Yeah.
want to do this.
Well, that's great. And yeah, and I remember your first Reiver. I think I attended the second one, either second or third year. I can't remember what year it was that we came out, 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And I know even around that time, there was still some people within Europe and outside of the U.S. who kind of poo-pooed this whole gravel thing and said, "Oh, this is just a phase. This won't last." Even as gravel was starting to build some momentum, there was still that attitude. So it was really good to see that there in the UK, the Brits seemed to get it, and you guys were like, "Yeah, this is rad, and this is a great event we can rally behind."
Yeah, it was far from mainstream at that point. I mean, manufacturers, we look at people like Salsa, who just saw this coming from so far out, and you know, pioneered what we now know as a gravel bike.
Yeah.
So, and that bike, if we discount the Grinduro events that I've ridden, and we look at every other US kind of distance gravel event, I've done that on a Warbird. So 4 DKs, Trans Iowa, 2 Mid South was Land Run, all on Warbirds. It's like the epitome of a gravel bike for me.
Yeah, well, Salsa was the Warbird, of course, is kind of the first. I call it. I like to use the word modern because some people like to always bring up that, hey, the original Tour de France was on gravel roads, and yeah, of course, gravel roads predate pavement, but this is the modern movement of gravel, and Salsa certainly made the first modern gravel race bike specifically, and they're the only DK sponsor who's been there since year one in 2006. So no one gets the community and vibe of gravel better than Salsa. They've been with us since the beginning and been with gravel since the beginning.
And I've only ever used my own Warbird once. Every other time has been a hookup. The first year, my first DK, the airline lost my bike, and I would have ridden on a Salsa Via. I ended up riding it on a pre-production prototype Warbird, which was like my first experience. So day before, get your bike. Day after, ride 200 miles. It's testament to how good that bike is.
Yeah, and you're doing it right if you can do it on someone else's Salsa Warbird.
Yeah, exactly.
Save your own. Well, fantastic. So from Dirty Reiver back in, did you say 2015 was the first year for that?
15 was the concept. I think 16 was the first year.
Okay. And so then Jim and I came over in 17 and we brought a couple of folks with us. And so how has gravel evolved from 2015 to the present in the United Kingdom? What have you seen change? Has there been growth? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the category is really legitimized now, and it's recognized, and we have, we don't have the same growth that you have in the US. You have a few years head start on us, but we certainly have growth in the gravel sector, and we see that coming from two sides. And it's kind of, gravel really arrived at a great time. So we have a lot of road guys who are coming to gravel because really they're done with riding the road. It's not a safe environment for them anymore if they want to go out and do a group ride. So they're pivoting to the gravel bike. It's drop bars. You can experience the same speed. It's sociable. And then we have the guys coming from mountain biking, because mountain biking as a sport has kind of developed these bikes that are so technologically advanced. You need to build a trail for the bike. So you can't ride that bike from your door. So they pick up a gravel bike because now we're kind of flashing back to the 90s mountain bike scene where, your tires were skinny, your bars were narrow, and you rode from your house and you did your local trails. And that's kind of a whole vacuum that gravel has filled for those riders too. So this is where we see our growth. And this is probably where we differ from you guys in the US, that we don't have these back road gravel roads, expanses of. We have a lot of right away, single track, the things that we rode mountain bike on 20 years ago. So this is the gravel kind of scene for us.
I mean, you're talking legitimate Roman roads, right? That you
Oh
could
yeah, for sure. And
find.
you would have seen some of those when you did Reiver.
Yeah.
You know, super long, straight. Yeah, they didn't mess around.
I took note. It was beautiful. The history enthusiast in me loved being able to see something like that. So yeah, definitely different, and just the geography of the United Kingdom in general is different. You're an island,
Yeah.
and so you don't have as much flat, wide open, right? Generally speaking.
No, and we don't have the scale either. You know, if I live in Newcastle, which is right in the northeast of England, right on the coast, on the east coast. If I ride for 140 miles west, I'm going to get wet. You know, I'm going to be on the west coast and into the sea. That's the scale of what we're dealing with here.
We have to go a couple days to get to proper water here in Kansas. Yeah. Yep. So you were starting to touch on it then, but what is like, and I know it varies across regions, even within the UK, but you've experienced DK Flint Hills gravel. How does the UK, what can a person generally expect? Is it the same kind of super sharp stuff, or is it smaller pea gravel? What's kind of the general surface type over there?
It's same if you come to if you go to an event like Reiver, it's very similar because it uses the forest access roads that the guys use for transporting wood. You know, it's a forest area, it's a worked area. So there's vehicles track over that. So it's very similar. If you go to another event, for instance, you know, we look after Grinduro. So if you went to a Grinduro event, completely different. That's way more akin to a mountain bike event. But you know, we try to incorporate more single track and more varied surfaces.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and from what I recall of Reiver, I thought it was similar, at least in size, texture, if you will. I didn't taste the gravel, so I'm not sure how that compares, but it was quite similar. And, you know, when I look at quote unquote gravel events, even in different areas of the United States, take, for example, California or up in the Northeast, or in mainland Europe, it's not quite as gravelly, so to speak. It's more dirt roads versus pure gravel, like what we and you guys would experience. So
I think this is the pure joy of, you know, we've categorized it and we've given it a name. We call it gravel, but really it's a tool. Like the gravel bike is such a versatile piece of equipment. And you'll find as you talk to different people in different locations around the world, how they've interpreted what they do with that bike. It's phenomenal.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And you know, I think mixed surface. I hear a lot of people try to use mixed surface opposed to gravel, as it encompasses a little bit broader range. And along with the mixed surface, it's also mixed riding styles, right? Because then you have this whole section of adventure riding, which gravel falls into, but bike packing, multi-day trips, things of that nature. And you do a little bit of that yourself, right?
I did, yeah, I've done a few. The last one I did was Tuscany Trail last year, which was just beautiful. It's like some of the nicest riding I've ever done. The food was great. Oh, that's another Italian event. There's Jeroboam. So that's 300 kilometers in Italy, Abruzzo, yeah. And 6,000 meters of climbing, maybe more.
Yeah. At
It's
the
a big
surface,
day.
on the surface, someone says, "Oh, Paul looks excited," but I see grumpiness in the eyes there. Is this pre-ride then?
That's pre-ride, yeah. You find yeah, the post-ride shot it's a lot nastier.
And then you recently did some alternative riding, right? Thanks to coronavirus, we have to think alternative. Tell us about that trip. You recently.
We did like pre-coronavirus. We were lucky to get that done really before it hit Europe. We did a couple of days in Belgium. We did an alternative version of what everyone will know as the Flanders Classic. So Ron van Vlaanderen. So you know the cobbles, the bergs. Yeah, we did a little gravel take on that with Lawrence and his friend Stefan, with the guys from Shimano. Just 2 days, just exploring. Kamut set us up with a route to ride. It was pretty cold. Yeah.
Lauren says he's a professional adventurer now. Does that slow him down at all?
Lawrence does not slow down. You know, if you ever ride with an ex-professional, make sure he's an ex-professional by years and not weeks.
Well, his motto is appropriate then. He does say, live slow, ride fast. So he still is.
Oh, he rides fast.
Beautiful. Well, so we've gone from 2012, where you were experiencing some stateside gravel, 2015, 16, where this idea of Dirty Reiver was born, and it was born kind of in this same mold of a traditional Midwest gravel event. But you've moved on from that. And so you mentioned Grinduro, and that's what you're up to now. Tell us about Grinduro, because within the world of gravel or mixed surface, Grinduro is probably the biggest oddity of it all.
It's in its own real category. I think there was a concept it was based on, which was to push the drop bar gravel bike to the absolute limit of what that bike could do in terms of technicality. It's taken that, and it's also built in a way more sociable atmosphere to the event. So as much as I love DK, it's a tough weekend. You know, you come, you're nervous, you ride, you're broken, you go home. Yeah, you recover for the next 2 weeks. Grinduro is a very different experience. You know, you go, you camp, you have some beers, you ride, you have some beers while you're riding. You do some racing in that kind of riding period, and then you have more beers and some music. It's a kind of a different interpretation of gravel. Same deal though. I knew the event existed. I came out, experienced it firsthand, I think 2017 in California, when it just existed in California. Convinced them that I could organize a similar event on the Isle of Arran in Scotland. So the next year we did the first Grinduro Scotland. And then after a couple of years of that, convinced them that I could do this globally and we should look at different kind of regions for that. This year we hope to do it in Wales. You know, completely new location, really kind of a real mountain bike focused location. It's the campsite is on the doorstep of the Atherton's bike park. So this is the kind of terrain that we're looking at. We know we're really pushing the limits of a gravel bike to the next level.
So mountain bike focused, what does that mean for drop bars? Are they still welcome or even encouraged at this event? Or
So what we try to do is we're definitely a drop bar gravel bike focused event. There's always been stages which have been a concession to mountain bikes, and they may do better, but we always build in a balance, if not a lean towards the drop bar. So you might prosper on a single track descent stage on a mountain bike, but if you've got like a 2K 12% average climb to do for one stage, or you've got like a 10K rolling fire road to do, the gravel bike's going to peg it back.
Yeah, for sure. So in Wales, so you've moved out of Scotland and moving a Grinduro event to Wales. Maybe I just speak for myself, but I would venture to guess most Americans forget about Wales as part of the UK. It's a little lesser known and maybe not talked about as much. And also they still retain a lot of their Welsh culture there, right?
Welsh culture, Welsh language. Wales is a mecca of mountain biking for the UK. They were, the first guys to develop what we know as the modern kind of trail centre. So that all was happening in Wales a long time ago. Now they're the kind of hub of bike parks. So as the bikes got bigger, the trail centres, the bike parks have got bigger. So yeah, if you're UK based, Wales is, or if you're a gravity focused mountain biker, you know about Wales.
Nice. Well, so where in Wales does Grinduro Wales take place?
I'm going to take a stab at this and say it's Machynlleth, but I think we need to I have a clip. I'm going to play you this clip because I'm not going to do this justice. Let's hope this works. And this is somebody who's actually Welsh pronouncing the name of the location.
Machynlleth.
Machynlleth. You get that?
I think we need another pass at it.
You want another one?
Yeah.
Machynlleth.
Machynlleth.
Yep.
I feel a viral challenge coming on, Paul. I think you should offer up one complimentary entry to the person that can best pronounce it, and they need to submit their videos to your whatever channel you want. and have a pronunciation challenge.
I think in like an Instagram video, this is a little short. Maybe just tag Grinduro in there. But you can't be Welsh, and maybe not from the UK. You have to be from a US pronunciation of our.
I love it.
Yeah.
Challenge dropped, folks. If you can pronounce McClintock, I don't think I'll be entering. Okay, so you've kind of given us the basics there. I'm a bit of a visual person. With your permission, I've got your website pulled up here, and you've got a nice little 40-second video of Grinduro whales. I'd love to share that with folks so they can get a quick visual, and then we can kind of fill in some more details around that specific event, when it is, what takes place there, and dive into it a little bit more. So
yeah,
I'm going to share my screen. Pull this up. Here we go. So that's a bit of a quick teaser. Well, let me get off that screen share there. But it gives a good idea. And for me, to be honest, I started cycling as a mountain biker, and that's where my heart is. So I have not participated in a Grinduro event, but that looks like a perfectly tailored event for someone like me who does enjoy gravel, but also loves to get a little bent on some trails. And so there was a shot in there where the rider seemingly comes straight off the trail and curves onto a gravel road. And I was just thinking, that's my jam.
Yeah, I mean, if you've not heard of Grinduro before and you're coming to this event fresh, unlike other events in the gravel world where you race from kind of start to finish, this is more akin to a mountain bike enduro. So you have 4 time stages within a bigger loop, and you ride the transition stages. And what that means is, I can ride with Lawrence for once, and then we just race 4 stages. But the rest of the day, we're on, a different agenda. We don't need to get to the finish first because we do our racing in the 4 stages. So we can have a beer at lunch, we can have an extended break in the sun, we can have a sit down and enjoy the view. This is the difference between a kind of traditional start to finish.
Yeah, and so there was another thing that video started off with party to race, and I wanted to share the screen again here because I really loved this feature on your website, the ultimate party to race ratio. And I can actually drag this toolbar here over to party, and these images change to show me the party atmosphere, the live music, the food, the handmade bike and art show, all that kind of stuff. Or I can move it over to race, and it'll now tell me about the race categories, the rules of the road. So your website, I think, does a fantastic job of reflecting what this event is. So tell us a little bit more about, from party to race, what goes on at Grinduro Wales.
So we're trying to capture the whole cultural element of gravel. So we have the racing aspect for those who want to be competitive. We have the general ride, which is more inclusive for everyone. We have live music generally on the Friday and the Saturday night. We also have a handmade bike show, which is incorporated into the event. So we have builders who will build their interpretation of what a perfect Grinduro bike will look like, and then they'll race that bike on the Saturday too. So these, they're not put up on a pedestal kind of deal. These are workable using bikes. So yeah, we want to really engage riders and them to have a great experience. We don't want them to come, get changed, race, go home. This is one of the great things about having an event on Arran, is an island only accessed by ferry. So we had them trapped.
Yeah, no doubt. When I've talked to people about gravel for, over a decade, and there's one thing that tends to come out of it. There's the adventure piece that usually gets focused on quite a bit, and that is that The mixed surfaces are often new to people, especially Midwest gravel, which was not a popular riding place. So there's that actual experience part of the ride. But there's this community atmosphere, which I think is every bit as important as discovering gravel roads. Was this realization that cycling used to be a fun communal activity, and all of our disciplines, especially road, even cyclocross probably has done the best job, but even mountain biking has got to a point where you used to show up to a cross country race, you ripped around a trail for an hour and a half, and then you went home. There were very few that were still doing this festival communal atmosphere well. I think gravel just kind of swooped in and filled that void that said riding bikes is a piece of it, but an equal, or if not larger part, is let's just hang out afterwards and share the stories about what we just did. And that's best done over beer and bread, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great piece to talk about the community and how it engages with gravel. And Emporia's, I guess, is the perfect example of how that happens, and that you can have the majority of people who are in and involved with that event may not even ride a bike generally, but they want to be involved. They want to get engaged in some way of doing that. And the gravel is, like DK's grown, is grassroots. It's because we've never had a professional tier of the sport. And, it's not that we're kind of resisting that happening. It's just grown organically like that. And it's got to the scale it is without needing to have a pro gravel tour. Mm-hmm. Great thing you can see, and again, we go back to DK, is, gravel riders of a professional level are coming to you. It used to be ex-pros who would retire and do DK. Now it's pro tour riders. They're taking time out of their schedules to do these events. It's a great testament to I guess, the authenticity of gravel and what it means in the kind of the bigger picture of cycling.
Yeah, and not only are some World Tour pros now coming to gravel events such as Dirty Cans, I think you're going to see more and more of that getting spread across more events. Take Peter Stetina, for example, American professional cyclist who stepped away from the World Tour. Arguably still in his prime in terms of racing age and ability, but he saw more opportunity within gravel. And then you've got guys like Alex Howes, Taylor Finney, and Lachlan Morton from Education First, who came to Dirty Kansas last year. And their mindset is we're not coming in to take over. No, we're not bringing the World Tour to gravel. We want to take some gravel to the World Tour. So when we step back and think about where has gravel come today, it is so influential that people are wanting to influence the oldest cycling institution in professional road cycling. Maybe track came first, but it's one of the oldest institutions of cycling, and they're wanting to change that atmosphere and the culture around it. And I think that's extraordinary.
Yeah. I think it really just affords them a platform to enjoy riding a bike again. Because I'm pretty sure these guys at one point in their life, it was just about riding bikes, and that's all they cared about. And to become a professional cyclist is just an extension of that.
Yeah.
But I guess they get driven down a road, and the bigger picture and the sponsors and the whole show, which is professional road cycling. Mm-hmm. It must be really refreshing for them to be able to come to something like DK. And, you take a start line with these guys, me and you as amateur riders, we're on the same start line in the same event, riding at the same time. It's pretty
well. And as you know, you have, not only are you on the same start line, you have the same chance of finishing that event, whereas a pro might not finish. And so therefore you could beat said pros that are on the same start line. They may not be prepared like you are, maybe more so physically, but they might not know how to change their own tire.
Yeah, so true.
They might, be from Northern Europe and not be prepared for the Kansas heat and humidity and bow out. And this has occurred. I mean, many people have finished, whereas some seasoned pros and world caliber riders have not been able to complete the distance. So that's a pretty exciting feeling for me to line up and say, I've got an equal shot. Maybe I can gut it out and tough it out better than you. Who knows?
And then print the finish sheet at the end.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take a victory anyway, even if they have to drop out for me to get it. Okay, so we're kind of getting into this where gravel is today. So where do you, and this is always a tough question to ask and a tough one to answer. One, you might not want to give away some trade secrets, but in a general sense, where do you think gravel in the UK is going over the next few years? What do you see the the growth trends in terms of participant size and a number of events? Do you think that's going to continue to climb, or do you think there's more appetite?
I think there's definitely more appetite, and I think we're just going to see an increased volume of what we have now. Again, we're back to the scale of the UK. It's not huge. We don't have like the real estate to do 10 different versions of Dirty Reiver, because you just can't place that kind of size of event that many places. I think we'll probably see more akin to the Grinduro styles, which can operate on a smaller area. And then you touched on it earlier, the kind of bikepacking adventure side of gravel as well is always been hugely popular in the UK. So I guess it's another area of growth.
Yeah. Yeah, bikepacking is certainly something we hope to see continue to grow here stateside. Gravel bikepacking in particular, because gravel is what we have here in the Midwest. So that tends to be what we focus on. But, you know, a lot of the Midwest was built on this framework of a community every 10 miles roughly because of the railroad. And so that's really great for us now, because every 10 miles, typically, if you wanted, you could find a town for refuel or a little cafe or restaurant. So it makes bikepacking really accessible and easy in the Midwest via gravel roads. And conversely, if you wanted to go 100 miles without seeing a town, you could draw a route that gives you that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. What about Grinduro? Is there anything about the present or future you can share with us there for future plans, or is that trade secrets we can't divulge at this time?
No, we're happy with the format that we've got and how the event works. A year ago, we took the decision that we'd kind of turn it into a franchise. We couldn't manage it all in-house ourselves. We needed to work with external promoters, and that's where we're at now. So we had, you know, aside from issues globally that all event promoters are having right now, we had 6 events programmed this year. So we would have been in Switzerland, Wales, Canada, California, Japan, and Australia. And we just feel like we're going to continue to grow the geography. That's what's going to happen. As the markets emerge, then we'll take our format and event to them. Japan was a really good one for us last year. Didn't expect that to be a huge event. They were planning on maybe 100, 150 riders, because culturally it's a very big road scene, very little off-road riding, and they sold 500 entries like within a day.
Wow.
Australia, again, we expect to do really well. Another group, kind of really good growing gravel culture there. They have a lot of real estate, like.
Yeah, and Japan being an island like you guys, I imagine the topography would lend itself, again, much better to a Grinduro style event versus a Dirty Kansas-esque style event where the real estate, as you said, just isn't there. Versus Australia being a larger continent, it is an island as well, but it's much larger. They have an opportunity for both. They have Grinduro style areas. They could probably also do some pure gravel events.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to Australia at another time. Okay. Well, we've covered some ground here. Is there anything else that we're missing about British gravel, as it were, that we need to share with the viewers?
No, I need the guys should come and experience it. This, it's very different. Don't think all gravel is the same. As you will explore and you'll find out.
Yeah.
The bike, the gravel bike we've talked about this, is such a great tool to be able to come and just explore so many good places. It's a very accessible place to ride a bike. We have pretty good access laws. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, though, we do need to have our rapid fire round of Better Know Paul, or maybe I should call this How British Are You? Because we're learning that maybe Paul's not so British after all. But these are some quintessential British items, if you will. So we're going to just fire these out there, and you give us the best British answer you can muster. Favorite football team?
I'm going to have to say Newcastle United, because it's the city that I was born in, but I couldn't profess to be a football expert.
Okay, so you're not rioting in the stands?
No, what, sorry?
You're not one of those that is rioting in the stands?
No, I'm not a die-hard football fan. No, sorry.
Fair enough. Favorite hot drink?
I know you want me to say tea, and I know I changed this question, but I'm a coffee drinker. I'm sorry.
That's fair enough. It's fair enough. I mean, admittedly, I designed these to be highly stereotypical questions, uh, and you are disproving all of them. So good on you. Fave Royal. Got to have a favorite, right? It's
I
ridiculous.
like any royal that features on a banknote, preferably that's in my wallet. There is never that many of them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you don't follow the Prince Harry drama and
No, it's a pretty like big Hollywood affair now, isn't it? It's gone beyond the realms of our small island.
yeah.
Yeah, the royals are a global entity now, for sure.
Well, I agree that it's best probably just to stay out of that and focus on riding bikes on gravel roads and going bike packing. Okay, and my last question is kind of spoiled because I simply assumed it would be raining there right now because everyone thinks it rains 24/7, but I'm seeing sunlight through your window there.
Fortunately, we've had a really good, and we do often have this, a really good April. Unfortunately, in our current climate of lockdown, we don't get to enjoy it so much, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul, that's all I've got for you for now. This has been great. Thank you for taking the time to tune in with us and share the journey of how gravel is coming along in the UK, and hopefully our viewers will get the chance in the not so distant future to come over and experience McCunliffe. Yeah, some Grinduro whales. I'm going to expect you to take the point on this challenge. Get people. I want to see a pronunciation challenge.
Yeah, I better let our social media guy know that this is going to happen, or he's going to get pretty confused really quickly.
Grinduro Wales. On Instagram, you said there's a Grinduro Wales page or just Grinduro?
We have a general Grinduro page. So, but if anybody just tags Grinduro in this crazy pronunciation,
Okay.
we'll make sure that if someone is good and worthy, we'll get them a spot for Grinduro Wales.
Love it. And a quick Google search of Grinduro Wales will get you to the Grinduro website. That's how I found it. I'll try to, when we push this out, which this will go live Saturday morning, May 2nd, which is tomorrow morning since we're recording on Friday. But I'll put some links in there as well for people so they can find you. For sure, we want to get the word out so people can do their research now and hopefully get out there someday when we're allowed to do so.
Perfect.
Well, Paul, thanks as always. Ciao for now, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Take care.